7. Christine and Simon. Mary talked to Mr. Wilson too, but it was no good. She came out looking tired and very sad. For many months she argued with David Wilson about the danger of the waste products, but he would not listen to her. And so, 18 months after John's report, Mary decided to move to another company. She was pleased because it was a more important job, but that wasn't the reason she was going. She knew that the cleaning machines would never be built. John was sad to see her go. He had enjoyed working with her, and she had come to his house several times over the last year and a half. His children liked her now. They had never been so friendly with any woman since their mother had died. On her last day, Mary and John had lunch in the factory restaurant together. "You don't have to go, you know, Mary," John said. "This company is very successful, and it's growing all the time. Your new paint has meant 400 new jobs, all because of your discovery. This isn't a poor town anymore. It's becoming successful, rich. People will want to move here from other places." He talked about the new sports centre at Andrew's school, which was built with money from the paint company. There were 2 big new shops in the town as well, and a new theatre, and a lot of new houses. "And it's all because of you," he said. "It's wonderful, Mary, don't you think?" He smiled at her across the table and took her hand in his. She looked at him quietly. He had changed a lot since he had first started working at the factory. For the first 6 months after he had got the job, he had been really happy and lively. She had always known where he was in the factory because he was always laughing or singing to himself. But for the last 18 months, he had been much quieter. He was always busy, but he didn't sing or laugh, and he didn't often look Mary in the eyes. And when he was alone, he looked tired and sad. She took her hand away from his, gently. "You know why I'm going, John," she said. "I know what's going into the river, and I don't like to think about it. You should leave too, and get a job in another company." "I'm too old." John stared at her angrily. "It isn't easy for me to get a new job. And Mary, the company has been making the paint for more than 2 years now, and no one's been hurt, have they?" Mary didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, "Only you." "What do you mean, only me?" She looked at him sadly. His head was bald now. He was beginning to look like an old man. Once, she had wanted to marry him. Now, she was pleased that he hadn't asked her. "Oh, I just meant your leg, of course." John still had a painful red place on his leg, and sometimes he walked badly because of it. But that wasn't what Mary meant. John smiled. "My leg's nearly better. I'd almost forgotten about it. But Mary, before you go, I wonder if you could help me. It's a family matter." "I see. Well, how can I help? I don't know your children very well, you know." "No, of course not. But you're a woman and, well, it's sometimes difficult for me. as a father on my own. Christine's a young woman now, and she hasn't got a mother to discuss things with. I don't always know what to say." "No." Mary looked at him sadly. She often wondered why he didn't ask her to his house more often. She liked him and his children, and she thought he liked her. "How old is Christine now?" 18. And she wants to get married." "Already? She's rather young, isn't she?" John looked unhappy. "Well, that's what I say. But she gets so angry with me, Mary, really angry." "Who's the young man?" "He's called Simon MacDonald. He's a journalist. He works for the local newspaper. He's a nice young man, I suppose. But every time I speak to him, we argue. And then Christine always agrees with him, and I get angry with her, too. I don't want to, Mary, but I do. I feel I'm losing her, you see." "What do you argue about?" "Oh, I don't know. Stupid things, really. He belongs to one of these environmental groups. Green World, I think. And he's always talking about it. He thinks only young people are right, and everyone over 25 is always wrong." Mary looked at John thoughtfully. "Well, what do you want me to do, John? I'm not a mother, and I've never been married." "No, but you could talk to Christine, perhaps. If you came to our house for Sunday lunch." So Mary went to John's house. Simon was there too. They had a meal and talked about horses and sailing. Everyone was polite, and there were no arguments. Later, Mary went with Christine to look at her horse, and Simon stayed with John. In the field, Mary began to talk about Simon. "He's a fine young man, Christine. He's very clever and kind. He makes me think of your father." "My father? He's nothing like my father. And Dad hates him." "I'm sure he doesn't." "He does. He says he's too old for me, and I mustn't see him. He thinks I'm still a little girl, Mary. But I'm 18. I want to get married. Tell me more about Simon." And so, for a long time, Mary stood in the quiet, lonely field. She helped Christine give food to her horse, and listened to her talk about Simon. Simon, Christine said, was kind, intelligent, very hard-working. He liked sailing and riding, and he wanted to make the world a cleaner, better place. He made her feel important, like an adult, not a child any more. She had met his parents, and they liked her a lot. It was only her father. "So, what should I do, Mary?" Christine asked. Mary put her hand on the horse's neck. "I'm not sure," she said. "I think you should marry him. But you don't want to make your father angry, do you? That's not the best way to start your life with Simon." "No, but I will if I have to." "Would you like me to talk to him? Perhaps he'll listen to me." "It's difficult for him. You're his only daughter, and he's probably very worried about it." "Oh, would you, Mary, please? I want Dad to like Simon, really, but he's always nasty to him." "I'll do my best, my dear. but I don't know if it'll work." Mary did try, very hard, before she moved to Scotland for her new job. She spoke to John on the phone, and sometimes they had a cup of coffee together in town. She was surprised how carefully John listened to her, and how grateful he seemed for her help. "He's really a very lonely man," she thought. "It must be hard for him with 2 children and no wife. He used to talk to his children a lot, but he doesn't now." At last, John agreed to the marriage. Mary was invited to a special supper because of the good news. Christine was very happy. She kissed Mary when she arrived and gave her a small secret present to thank her. It was a pair of pretty earrings. At the meal, John seemed a little nervous, but happy too. He tried hard to smile and thanked Mary, although he didn't think of giving her a present. He watched Christine all through the meal. He seemed to be afraid that he would never see her again, and he was very happy when she smiled at him. Then Simon stood up to say something. "Mr. Duncan," he said, "I'll always remember this night. I know how much you love your daughter, and believe me, sir, I love her too. You've been worried about me because you want her to have the best husband possible, and I can't promise anything, but I'm going to try to be that man. You're a rich man, Mr. Duncan, and of course Christine and I won't have a lot of money at first, but I hope we'll manage." He smiled at Christine. "And yesterday, Mr. Duncan, I spoke to my employer, and he's going to pay me a little more than before." John looked surprised. "Oh, really? Why is that?" "Well, because he's given me a new job. He's asked me to write about the environment for our newspaper. I have to write a full-page article every week on the environment. And this is the first one. Look here." He pulled a page of newspaper out of his pocket and held it up in front of them. There were pictures of water, sandbanks, and some seals. The headline read, "Seals at Rivermouth have strange disease. 4 baby seals found dead." 8. The wedding day. The disease among the seals got worse. 3 more baby seals died, and 1 was born without a tail. Scientists came from London to look at them, and there were long articles in the newspapers, but no one was sure what the reasons were. Some people said that it was a disease that was always in the water. Some people said the seals were eating diseased fish, and some people said that it was the paint factory near the river. There was a sewage works near the river too. The sewage from another small town came into it. One day, in the factory, John Duncan found 2 young chemists testing samples of water from the river. The water came from 2 kilometres upstream near the sewage works. "Why are you doing that?" he asked, surprised. "It's a special experiment," one of them answered. "David Wilson asked us to do it himself. Didn't he tell you, sir?" John didn't answer. He watched them quietly for several minutes. "What are the results?" he asked. "They're bad, sir," said the young man. But he didn't look worried. He looked pleased, proud of himself. "That sewage works is putting a lot of nasty things into the river, you know. I think the newspapers will be very interested." "The newspapers?" John asked. The young man smiled. "Yes, Mr. Duncan, of course. Our company cares about the environment, doesn't it? That's why we're doing this. We want to help those poor seals if we can." As John walked away, he listened for the sound of quiet laughter behind him. But he heard nothing. Perhaps the young man really believed what he said. Christine and Simon were married on a fine day in June. When they came back from the church, they had a party in the garden at John's house. Everyone seemed very happy. John liked Simon's parents and talked to them a lot. "You're very lucky, Mr. Duncan," Simon's father said. "You have a beautiful house with a lovely river at the end of the garden." "I haven't always been lucky," John answered. "People used to say I was a very unlucky man." He stood still, thinking. He remembered how unhappy he had been in the little flat in the middle of the town. He had been unemployed then, with no money to buy good things for his children. But he had always been able to talk to them. Now he was a rich man, a success, and his children didn't want to talk to him. He smiled at Mr. and Mrs. MacDonald. "Yes," he said, "I'm a very lucky man. I have Simon for my son-in-law. I'm very pleased for my daughter." Mrs. MacDonald was pleased. "We're very pleased to have Christine for our daughter-in-law too," she said. "And I'm sure Simon will help you with this river, Mr. Duncan. I understand there's a disease in it, which is making the seals ill. Simon told me he's going to work very hard to find the reason for that and clean up the river. I'm sure you're pleased about that, Mr. Duncan." "Yes, of course." John had seen Simon's article in the newspaper last night about the diseases that came from the sewage works. David Wilson had shown it to him. John didn't want to talk about it. He saw his daughter laughing with Simon, Andrew, and some friends. He had never seen her look so happy. He remembered his own wedding and the hopes he and Rachel had had. "Let me get you another drink, Mrs. MacDonald," he said. "We must drink to our children's future and wish them luck." At the bar in the house he met Mary. She came back to the town sometimes, and twice he had visited her in Scotland. "This day's been a great success, John," she said. "You must be a happy man." He touched her arm thoughtfully. "I'd like to be, Mary," he said. "I've tried, you know. I've done my best. But it's their world now. They must do what they can with it." 9. I don't believe you. "It's not true, Christine. Simon's information is wrong." "I don't believe you, Father." John and Christine stared at each other angrily. It was a miserable, frightening moment for them both. It was a night 3 months after the wedding, and Christine had come with some happy news. She had come to tell her father that she was going to have a baby, his first grandchild. For a while they had talked about that, but then Christine had begun to talk about Simon's new job. Simon had found some information about the waste products from the paint factory. His information was dangerous for the company. Simon had written an article in the newspaper saying that waste products from the paint factory could be killing the baby seals. David Wilson had written to the newspaper immediately, saying that Simon's article was completely untrue. And so, instead of talking happily about the baby, Christine and her father had argued all evening. John had known for a long time that they would have this argument. And next week, in the town, there would be a public inquiry, when government officials would try to discover the truth. Scientists and lawyers would speak on both sides of the argument. Everyone in the town was talking about the inquiry and about Simon's newspaper article. "Why did David Wilson write to the paper, Father?" Christine asked. "He's not a scientist. He's just a businessman. Why didn't you write to the paper?" "I have written to the paper," said John sadly. "You'll probably read my letter tomorrow." "Oh? What did you say?" Christine asked. John felt sad. He hadn't wanted to write the letter. He and David Wilson had had a big argument about it. But in the end he had agreed. He had agreed to hide many bad things before, so one more didn't make any difference. I said that our waste products don't make the river water dangerous. We've tested them very carefully for many years, and if they are diluted in water, they are not dangerous at all. There are usually only 1.5 parts per million in the river water, that's all. And the seals aren't in the river, they're out at sea. I wrote that in my letter, and I'll say the same thing at the inquiry next week. Christine was watching him carefully as he spoke. She saw how tired and sad his face was. He was looking at his hands most of the time, not at her. "Father, I want to believe you, but I can't," she said softly. He looked up. "Don't then," he said angrily. "You believe Simon if you want to. He's a journalist after all. I'm only a biologist, and your father. Why should you believe me?" He stood up angrily, walked to the door, and opened it. "I'm sorry, Christine. I've had a hard day. I'm tired, and I don't want to sit here listening to my daughter telling me I'm a liar. Go home to Simon. I'm going to bed." She got up slowly. "It's important, Father," she said slowly. "It's important for everyone." "I know it is, Christine. But the paint factory's important too. It's given a lot to you, and me, and to the people of this town. Try to remember that, and forget about the seals for a while, can't you? There are more important things than money, Father." "Are there? You tell that to all the people who work in the company and live in this town. What are they going to live on when the factory's closed because of Simon's stupid articles? Can they give their children photographs of baby seals to eat?" Christine looked at him for a long moment before she went out of the door. "And what about children who play by the river, Father? What if they drink the river water? What then?" "Nobody drinks water from that part of the river," he said. "And I've told you, it isn't dangerous to children." Christine closed the door quietly behind her.